Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Statutory audit is a chartered accountant's bread and butter. Considering the ever expanding formal economy of India, the demand for statutory auditors keeps increasing. A lot of CAs build their career in this field and go on to become partners at big firms or end up starting their own audit firm. So, for people who are considering this as a career option and want to get an insight into what exactly happens during an audit and what are the learnings, I have with me CA Shruti Jain, who has worked at Grant Thornton in the Stat Audit Department for 3 years during her articleship. Hi Shruti, thank you for joining. So, firstly, can you share how was your interview experience and how many rounds were taken and what are some of the questions that are asked?
Hi Harsh, thanks for this opportunity. Really means a lot. So to start with, I had done my entire 3 years of articleship from Grant Thornton under Stat Audit Department. My interview experience was really very nice and was not so tough as thought of. To answer your question, so basically there are three different rounds of interview. The first round was HR round, which is a very basic level round where you are being interviewed by company's HR. Some of the basic questions that were asked to me, like tell me something about yourself, questions related to my family background and my strengths and weaknesses, where I tried to showcase my weakness as my strength. The second round was the technical round, which is usually taken by a person at managerial level. Under technical round, they will try to test your technical skills and knowledge and might question you related to your CA inter subjects, specifically audit, accounts, and tax. Since I was giving interview for the stat audit department, so I was being questioned related to accounting standards and standards of auditing. Not too much in depth, but you should have some basic knowledge or clue. Also, I was being asked questions related to current affairs. The whole round took around 30 minutes or so. The third round was the partner round, where I was being interviewed by director. This round was very interesting. I was being asked only one question, which was, how can you say that you are a very hardworking person? As I mentioned the same on my CV. So just a point for you guys to remember that always mention only those things on your CV which you can answer. So this was my interview experience.
So, if you don't mind, can you tell us what exactly was your answer to the partner's question?
Yeah. So when the partner asked me that how can you say that you are a hardworking person, so I gave him one incident of my past that was related to my CPT exam, that someone very close to my family died, and it was just 3 years. Sorry, it was just 3 days ago, and still I managed to get ranked during my CPT exams. So that impressed him, and he was like, "Yeah, you are seriously a very hardworking and determined person." So yeah, that.
It is commendable that you were able to give the exam in such circumstances and get a rank in your region. So, kudos to you. Uh, my next question is, how was your learning experience? So, there is a notion that bigger firms have a checklist that they follow and it gets monotonous after a point. So, what is your say on that?
Many people think that bigger firms have a firm checklist and they need to follow it, which becomes monotonous. But I don't agree with it. Considering my experience, I can say that I've learned a lot, many things, not only in terms of studies, but also things like how to work under tight deadlines, how to work in a team, or how to deal with clients. I think a person should always try to learn new things. So in GT, we used to have a checklist, not checklist exactly, but we used to prepare some common set of work papers for all of our clients with some basic guidance. But those guidelines which were there was to ensure that we are performing audit in a quality way and to maintain consistency with our workings. But we were not restricted to think differently or to think out of box. Like what I used to do was, I never prepared any work paper by just imitating what was done last year. But I used to make sure that every single working that I'm doing is from scratch, and always try to connect with my that work with my studies, which makes my work more interesting, and of course my studies more easy. I used to ensure that every work paper that I make includes something new which I had added. So it totally depends on a person that how they see any work. Like for some work is meant for completing, and for some, work is meant for learning. The work simply becomes monotonous if you do it only with a motto to complete it, and if you don't put any extra efforts to learn from it. So that's my view and my experience.
So, can you talk about maybe one or two interesting assignments that you worked on? Any client that you particularly found interesting, and maybe you learned something out of the box during that assignment?
Yeah, so almost at every assignment, I was learning something or the other, something new. But I had performed many certifications, which was apart from stat audits. So those certifications taught me that how a auditor plays a very important role, how auditors not just opinion, but how they are, bringing facts and, certifying the facts. Also, I had performed many IP audits. So that was a very new experience, where we were the one who used to see the whole IPO reports, how the IPO offer is bought in the public, and when it was bought, we were being given the parties by the clients that you all have given a lot of efforts to bring this IPO. So all the experience that taught me and had made me realize something new or the other. So apart from that IP audit, I had done one client which was an NBFC, which converted itself into a listed entity. So we had performed the whole analysis, and we have applied Ind AS 101 that was related to first time adoption. So it was very interesting because the financials were earlier in accounting standards, and we were totally involved in bringing a conversion of those financial statements into listed entities, and therefore we applied the whole process of 101. So I'd seen from scratch that how an entity firstly used to classify their assets and liabilities as per the accounting standards, and how they had applied the principles of Ind AS 101 and converted into a listed financials, which was very interesting. And sooner after that, we performed so many limited reviews, where we have seen that how that reclassification had brought a change, how the Ind AS is creating impact on those financials. So it was very interesting. In a way, it was similar to stat audits that we used to perform, but additionally we got a lot of knowledge of application of that first time adoption in this, which we generally don't see in our real life. But that was very nice experience. So that was a new thing that I learned.
So, listening to your experience, one thing that I understood is, apart from the basic checks that we study during our CA inter audit syllabus, like vouching, verification, stock audits, there is a lot more apart from just these checks that we can learn from statutory audit, like IPO audits or maybe such conversions or certifications. So, it's not just about basic checking.
Yeah, so there's lot many things. So it's just a myth that audit is more of sampling, vouching, and checking invoices, and it's just a myth. And I really found it very aggressive when someone says that you are doing vouching for 3 years. It's not that. It is a very big thing. We had a very big course of audit, and there are so many things. Like, it's audit is more of doing entire 8 subjects in one client. So it's like that. It's not simply vouching, taking, and all. That's the last thing after completing audit. We do taking that. Now the figures are matching. So it's that. So it's very in-depth thing.
So, coming to my next question, considering that you were an article then and not a chartered accountant, how much responsibility was handed over to you by your senior?
So when I started my articleship, my manager once told me that, Shruti, in start, you would be given one or two areas. Then when you would succeed in building trust in what you do, we would give you more of technical areas. And in this way, bit by bit, you have to reach to entire balance sheet, P&L, and disclosures. So when you just start with your articleship, you have to accept the fact that every work that is given to you will help you to learn something or other. No work is small. In initial years, I was just learning things, not so answerable or not so responsible for the work that I used to do. But as and when, with time, I was able to build trust in my work, and I was being given some very technical areas to work on, and for which I was held responsible. I handle some of the clients solemnly and perform audit for some of the very major and crucial areas, which is having a very big impact over the financials, and it was very good opportunity. So in nutshell, with time, slowly and steadily, the responsibility as a whole keeps on increasing. And usually, in your later years of articleship, the team would see you as a chartered accountant and would give you work accordingly. So, as a whole, it was a great working.
So, in short, a person's scope during articleship is dependable on how much trust he can earn from the partner or manager, whoever is actually looking after the assignment. All right. Now coming to the most important part, you did your articleship from Grant Thornton, and during that phase, for any chartered accountant, CA aspirant, it's quite important that they are able to manage their studies along with articleship. So, how was the work pressure, and how did you manage your studies alongside? And how many months of study leave did you get?
Yeah, so I would be truthful, entirely. So this is the truth, that there's a work pressure in, if you're working in any of the big organization, in any of the big fours or GT or any other firm. The work pressure is too high, and it is specifically in months from April to October, because at that time you have to perform many stat audits, you have to perform limited reviews, you have to perform tax audits. So those are the peak months, and it's very difficult to manage your studies with the work, because the team as a whole has a high expectation from you, and also it's important for you to complete your course on time. So managing studies with work is tough. So just to elaborate here, I want to say, or I want to guide you all, that you have to set your clear priorities in your mind. Like, I made it very clear from the very start that I have to complete at least one lecture, or for the self study subjects I have to read at least this much amount of a portion for a day on priority, either before work or either after the work. Also, I made it very clear to my team that I'm doing articleship because I'm doing CA. It's not that I'm doing articleship from my because that's the need. It's like studies are the most important thing that will ultimately help me in becoming CA. So, but just to give mention this thing as well, that I had done the full-fledged studies during my study leave, that was 5 months. Before that, I ensured that I completed all the lectures on time, and all the self I make sure that what all things I have to refer during my study leave as a part of study material. So that was what I ensured. So it's just that you have to set your priorities very clear. Your first priority should be your study, and then it should be the work. And in initial 1 year, you can give more focus to the work, because that's the learning phase. But after learning things and after managing things, you can set the priority that first you have to prioritize your studies and then work. So that way.
Lastly, a lot of CA aspirants would be watching this video. The results are just out, and they would be looking out for articleship opportunities. And I'm sure that GT would be uh, a preferred destination for a lot of candidates. So, do you have any message for them?
Yeah, so I want to give one message to all the CA aspirants, that always, for doing CA course or for becoming CA, you have to be consistent with whatever you do, with whatever, like work, with studies. You have to be very much consistent, and you have to bring a balance between hard work and smart work, because at times there are some cases where you have to work hard, because smart work doesn't apply there. And for some areas, you have to work smartly, that shortcuts can be applied. But in a nutshell, I can say that you have to work hard, you have to be very much determined towards whatever you are doing, and you have to be very much focused for during our articleship period and for your entire CA journey, because becoming CA is tough thing, and but it's not impossible, but you have to make it possible by working hard. So that's the only solution.
Thank you, Shruti, for the message that you have given, because I'm sure that it would definitely help a lot of candidates. And thanks a lot for giving us your time. Thanks a lot for joining. This was a really insightful discussion. Uh, this is for the audience. If you all have any doubts or you want to get Shruti's guidance on any particular point, feel free to mention it in the comment section. Shruti will go through the comments and try to help you all out. If you all like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to AJ Invest for more such interesting conversations. Thank you.